Welcome back to Rappahannock Issues Special Election Edition. We've been tracking the results from Stafford County, Spotsylvania County, a little bit throughout the state, and it is getting to the point in the evening where most of the results are coming in. There are a few close races here and there, and we'll report those in a few moments. But we have a special guest this evening, Scott Majowski. Scott has never been on our show, so it is a special treat for us to have him join us. Scott is the Commissioner of the Revenue for Stafford County, the job he has held since 1999, and he's probably still one of the youngest commissioners of the revenue in the Commonwealth of Virginia, even having held the job for a long time so far, and having done a very good job at it. And Scott, you're also quite an expert on watching our local politics and state politics. So you have, I've lost count how many seats we have in play tonight between the various magisterial districts, school board districts, and as we're getting these results coming in, do you have any opinions on what you're seeing? Anything surprising you? Any indications about where it may lead in a couple of years?
First of all, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. No, I'd say tonight pretty much went by script. Handing out Republican sample ballots all day because I am a Republican. It's got every race on there, and Republicans had a clean sweep, but I don't think that was a surprise to anybody. I think Stafford still, in terms of local elections, a very strong Republican county. The Republican committee is very well organized, especially compared to the Democrat committee, which we love them. However, they're not quite as organized as they are at this point. So,
that's something of a profound understatement.
I don't think anything that happened tonight would surprise anybody.
Well, looking at the House of Delegates race, and particularly at the Josh King and Dudenhofer race, that one's not in yet,
right,
as far as we can tell. Any thoughts about where that may head?
No, and it seems to be following the script from 2 years ago where Mark Dudenhofer does very well in North Stafford, but then it all comes down to how well he can play in Prince William County. And I know he's been working very hard there. Whether that will translate to the votes he needs to win or not remains to be seen. But it almost feels like a carbon copy of what happened to him 2 years ago. Mark's a very good candidate, but that's a very difficult district with having that portion of Prince William County and the northern portion of Stafford County. It makes for a very interesting race.
I had heard earlier in the day that the turnout in Prince William wasn't very good, but I hadn't heard since about midday about that.
No, I haven't heard either, and that will play a tremendous role in who wins this election. If the turnout is high in North Stafford and low in Prince William County, then one would think that would bode very well for Mark in the election. But I don't know what the polling numbers are in Prince William. I spent my entire day down in South Stafford, which seems like light years away from Prince William County, especially on election day. So very anxious to see what happens with Mark's race.
One outcome, not all that surprising, but it was at least a spirited race, was Candy Hilliard's election against Bill Howell, which he won handily. There's some speculation that Bill might not want to retire for another 10 years. You never know. It's been an interesting race to watch. Bill, I always thought, sort of owned that seat. And he proved that against Susan Stimson, and he proved it again against Candy Hilliard. But if his name were not in the equation, if he said, I'm going to play the grand statesman of Republican politics in Virginia and relax for a while, it at least has a tendency in larger turnout elections to look more democratic. Do you think that there would be a free-for-all where there would be suddenly a strong Democratic presence in that region?
I think you would have a strong Democratic opponent. However, you'd still have the ghost of Bill Howell in that race.
He probably would not like to be.
Right.
I was thinking the ghost of Charlie Jett. That type of ghost, though. Yeah. Still there, but sort of present.
The presence of Bill Howell in that race. Bill would still be very influential in that race. His money, his endorsement, I think, would buoy any solid Republican candidate that decides to run. Now, Republicans are big on conventions, and if the Republicans called a convention, assuming Bill retired, and nominated a less credible candidate, would Bill put all of his weight behind that candidate? I don't know that he would. That might change the complexion of that race. But a solid Republican candidate with Bill Howell's backing, I still think carries that district.
There was also the race down in the George Washington School Board.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's not too far. Are you in the George Washington?
Oh, yeah.
I am. I was there all day.
He's a neighbor.
Oh, he's a neighbor.
He's
okay.
a neighbor, my name.
Well, then you've been following Dwayne McCosker's win tonight, which is 71-76.
Something like that.
And we were talking about whether it be a recount in that situation. If I were the candidate, I wouldn't bother to ask one way or the other, but unless there's some grave irregularity I was aware of. Is that enough of a percentage to trigger any kind of automatic recount, or is it pretty much?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't done the math, and I don't know what the...
Yeah, it does take, a half a percentage.
I think a half
Right.
percent.
I don't think it's enough there.
But with these electronic ballots, I mean, there's no write-in candidate here to speak of. It seems to me like this race is settled. Dwayne won the race. They can call for a recount, but I don't think it's going to move the needle at all. I think this race is over. I think Dwayne ran a very good race against two very spirited opponents, and he came out on top.
Do you think there was this concern as though the school board's gotten lots of bad publicity recently? I mean, that's probably an understatement. From hazing of players to the $8.3 million, which is profoundly important. Two members survived. They tended to be the most concerned about the $8.3 million. Do you think that really played a big role in their survival?
Yeah, absolutely. Any school board candidate had a tremendous amount of headwinds. And by the way, a lot of that bad publicity was very well deserved.
I'm afraid it was.
The 8.3 is something, in my position, I'm very concerned about. However, I think the reaction to those things are very important. Dwayne McCosker, for example, jumped on that right away, called for a forensic audit, wanted to know exactly what happened. Because if you don't know what happened, you can't keep this problem from happening. So I think his vote total was suppressed because of the 8.3, but his reaction, I think, allowed him to overcome that bad publicity in the election.
And sort of with Dwayne and to a degree with Trish, they had been pushing for better budgeting for years. I mean, that's been almost from the day he got on the board. Dwayne has been pushing for a clearer, more sensible budget. So that a lot of people found that more credible with him than if somebody who never mentioned it at all just sort of came up with it. Well, our time with Scott Majowski is coming to an end. We're going to take a break and have another excellent representative from the Stafford area. So we thank you for being on, Scott. We hope you'll come back again and help us with the intricacies of reassessments and all those other fun things that
Absolutely.
you get to deal with.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, Scott.
All right.
I very appreciate it.
Thank you.